What you allow in your mind will happen in time. How many of you have come to realize that it takes absolutely no effort to think wrong thoughts? I personally have. I've been in a ton of different situations where thoughts will pop into my head that are completely off base and totally out of context from what it is that I'm even doing. And I believe it's kind of like in the old cartoons where the devil's on one shoulder and the angel's on the other, and they're whispering things into your ears, what you should think about, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And the devil's gonna make sure that you have every opportunity to think the wrong thoughts. Because if we can lose the battle in our mind, I believe that we'll lose the battle in our lives. I've heard it said that an unbridled lifestyle is usually the results of an unbridled mind. And Proverbs says that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. I think the devil recognizes the power of what we think about, and how if he can beat us in our mind, if he can get us to be meditating on things that are wrong, that it will ultimately manifest into our lifestyle. In Mark chapter 4, there's a verse that's really relevant to this topic, and I want to read it to you from the Amplified Bible. And it's called the Amplified Bible because it's louder. No, it's called the Amplified Bible because it expounds more. It amplifies the original text. And it basically says, "And he said to them, be careful what you are hearing. The measure of thought and study you give to the truth you hear will be the measure of virtue and knowledge that comes back to you." And I think that's powerful. It's talking about what we hear, but I think that it ultimately what we hear and see becomes what we think about and what we meditate on. And if we recognize that our thoughts can become life patterns, if we recognize that what happens in the mind will happen in time, then what we meditate on, really we need to place a priority on meditating on what's right. If we meditate on the wrong things and it can produce wrong fruit in our lives, or we meditate on right things and it produces good fruit in our lives, then it's really important that we take the time to recognize what it is that we're thinking about, and not just continue to think about it because nobody else knows what's going on in our minds. My pastor has said a lot of times, if you knew what the person was thinking next to you, you probably wouldn't be sitting next to them. And I think that that's true of human nature in general. I think that many times we just allow ourselves to go off in our minds to areas that we really are not supposed to, and that are inappropriate and are unproductive, and ultimately that produce sin. So if you're struggling with sin in your life, I would challenge you. Ask yourself if you're living an unbridled lifestyle because you have unbridled thought patterns. And if you do, then it's time to learn what it takes to get our thoughts and our lifestyle back in line with the Word of God. If you're interested in more information on this type of a study, there's an excellent book by Joyce Meyer out there. It's sold everywhere. It's called Battlefield of the Mind. I teach a class on it. I've written a curriculum for it. And it's one of the most phenomenal books that I've ever read on this subject, and I've read several. And I would encourage you to get it. It's a bestseller. It's even available at Walmart. So if this is a subject that you've been struggling with, if you're finding yourself falling into repetitive sin over and over again, you make the same mistakes over and over again, then more than likely you're losing the battle before you ever get there in your mind. And I challenge you to get those thoughts bridled and ultimately repossess and reclaim your life. Hopefully, guys, this is helping you. Hopefully, this particular blog is something that'll hit home with a lot of people. I know it even hits home with me. This is something that I have to meditate on daily. As always, I love you all. Looking forward to hearing great things, and if you can dig it, say word.
Change my way of thinking, make myself a difference and a rule. Gonna change my way of thinking, make myself a difference and